Very interesting.
So I've gone in search of a moment of geek to satisfy my inner infrastructure geek. And it's brought me here to the east side of Manhattan. Generations of infrastructure geeks have had their dreams die right here. The subway is essentially how most Manhattan residents and New Yorkers get around. Everybody's got a Metro card. Everybody uses the subway. Maybe not like Donald Trump, but pretty much everybody else uses the subway. And on the east side, everything is essentially confined to one subway line. There's only one subway line for the whole east side of Manhattan. It's so crowded that one east side subway line, they say every day, carries more riders than the subways of Chicago, Boston, and D.C. combined. They have needed another subway line on the east side here in Manhattan for a really long time. And I mean a really long time. Check out this New York Times headline. Mayor again urges a 2nd Avenue subway. That headline is from December 30th, 1948. And yes, that is the mayor again urging a 2nd Avenue subway. Because even by 1948, people have been trying to get a subway built here on the east side for decades. Plans for a 2nd Avenue subway line were first announced a month before the stock market crash of 1929. The stock market crash delayed the project because suddenly it was, the Great Depression, and there was no money left to build a new subway line or anything else. Project picked up again in 1949. They even got 10 brand new subway cars delivered for it. They tried to go forward again in 1951. By 1952, it was all off again. Turns out that New York City was massively in debt.
When this and the rest of the construction for the 2nd Avenue subway system is completed, New York City will have 23 new subway stations, 15 of them on 2nd Avenue in Manhattan.
In 1970, there were 3 separate 2nd Avenue subway groundbreakings. They kept doing the groundbreakings over and over again for different parts of this brand new, long-awaited subway line that was definitely, totally going to be built this time. For reals. And in fact, in 1972, the city did actually start construction. They managed to make one underground tunnel from 99th Street to 105th Street. Then the money ran out and the tunnels got sealed off and the project was stopped long before it was finished. So now the 2nd Avenue subway tunnel project is supposedly going to happen. But I mean, it's imminent. Right underneath where I am standing right now, drilling is due to start next week. So here we are about 7 stories underneath 2nd Avenue. We are quite a ways down. And this is going to be ultimately the 96th Street 2nd Avenue subway station. But right now it's called the Launch Box. This is the place from which the tunnel boring machine, the giant drill that's drilling the subway tunnels, is starting. We're joined now by Michael Horaniciano, who is the president of Capital Construction for the MTA. Michael, thanks very much for helping us understand what's going on here. Appreciate your time. So in terms of where we are right now, how long did it take to build this giant underground cavern that's going to be the station?
This probably was the 2.5 years to complete this thing before we can actually start digging the tunnel. And the part that was the most complex here was relocating all the utilities above.
So, unlike the tunnel, which is going horizontally through the rock, you came straight down from street level here, all the way down into the rock. You had to move all the utilities out of the way and then re-hang them essentially underneath street level.
That's correct. We are now, it's a temporary deck that we had to support, and everything hangs from that.
Let's go down and see the tunnel boring machine.
Okay.
So this is the front of the drill. This is the mole. This is the tunnel boring machine. This is 22 feet in diameter, the world's biggest drill bit. Maybe not the world's biggest, but a pretty darn big drill bit. 22 feet in diameter, which not coincidentally means you got a 22-foot in diameter subway tunnel. And this is really the front. This is the cutting edge, right?
That's correct.
What are we looking at here in terms of this big stuff?
In order for this to be able to penetrate rock that is rather hard, we have to put a lot of thrust on that. These are called the grippers. You see the cylinders actually under pressure hold this in place.
Okay.
And that allows the front gear to move forward. And this stays in place. That moves forward about 6 feet. And every 6 feet of rock drilling, then the whole back of the machine follows.
Like an inchworm?
Like an inchworm. We are lifting this up. we are removing, we are freeing the grips, and then we are moving forward and putting the grips again.
So it goes 6 feet,
6 feet,
and then everything scooches forward, which takes forever, and then you set back down, and then another 6 feet, and then scooches down, and then...
That's right. Before you start drilling, you're now going to go and shoot also vertical, horizontal probes into the rock in order to further determine what you're looking at. And when we started probing, we discovered that actually the quality of the rock is not that good, and as such, we needed to freeze the ground.
Freeze it?
Freeze the ground. What we're going to do is we're going to have giant refrigeration machines above. We're going to drill down probes that will be 7 feet on center.
Okay. We're
going to fill them up with a brine, and then we're going to drop the temperature until the ground around them is frozen.
Forgive the simplification, but if the earth is too soft that you're drilling through, it's less ideal drilling conditions. Freezing the ground makes it harder. Then you can go through.
Literally in soft ground with high water table, okay? You cannot drill with this type of machine because you're going to have water coming in. And once you have water coming in, you may have a terrible collapse of foundation because we have all buildings. So that prevents that. So what we're doing is you're taking the risk out of the type of work we're doing by freezing the ground.
You hear that, New Yorkers? They are not only drilling underneath 2nd Avenue, they're freezing underneath 2nd Avenue so they can drill underneath 2nd Avenue. Your tax dollars at work. Very, very hard at work.
Now, interestingly enough, when we freeze the ground, the machines work 7 days a week and 3 shifts.
Oh,
why? Because you do not want the machine to freeze. Truly.
So you have to keep moving.
So you keep moving until you're out of there.
Amazing, amazing.
This is the equivalent of the pilot's cabin for the tunneling boring machine. In fact, if you want to look at that, it's almost the Jules Verne story as to how you drive a machine under earth. It's GPS driven. And the tunnel, the direction, the slope, it's all controlled from here. And in addition to that, the amount of torque or force being used to actually grip and then push forward is also controlled from this cockpit. So whoever sits here is the person that controls via a screen, a GPS, and there are a number of cameras looking in various directions that tells the operator as to exactly what's happening outside. Without this is the brain of the machine. This is what makes it move forward, and this is where the direction and the accuracy of the tunneling boring machine is being regulated from.
So obviously a subway cannot be a one-lane street. You got to have 2 different directions, which means you got to have 2 different tunnels. In this case, that means that we've got an east bore tunnel and a west bore tunnel. You can see the 2 tunnels side by side right here. Now, in terms of the disruption to the neighborhood, trying to do this under living, breathing New York, obviously this launch box that we're in, which is going to be the 96th Street station, is a huge cavern. It goes all the way up to street level here. Just above our heads here, the ceiling here is street level, and this is a huge underground room. This has to have been very painful for the neighborhood.
That's correct. And as we move forward, and this is one reason why in dense urban areas we want to use tunnel boring machines, because once you start the boring process, you're not going to disrupt the people above. In fact, once you are down here at 70, 80, 90 feet below, the people above will not know that we're here. So that it releases the pressures of doing what we used to do in the past that was primarily cut and cover. But remember, when we used to do cut and cover, New York was not what it used to be.
And cut and cover means you cut everything open, do what you need to do, and then cover it back up and let New York come back to life.
Right.
Not anymore, though. With these people who live underneath these tunnels, as the tunnel boring machine is going 60 feet a day on a good day, they won't know what's happening beneath them if everything goes right.
If you would see pictures that I have in my office of Broadway north of Columbus Circle, when the subway was built, you will see two huge trenches on either side of the Broadway middle mall just open. Imagine people living like this for many years. That's how it happened. New York cannot exist without its subways. In fact, no metropolis can exist without subways. That's going to be, actually, that's the future. And our forefathers saw that. They actually figured it out long ago that that was the future, and they built all this wonderful system that we now are trying to improve.
We've been enjoying their work for generations.
Absolutely.
It's now our turn to pay it forward to the next.
That's right.
Michael H., Capital Construction President at the MTA. This has been fascinating, and please apologize to all the sand hogs down here for our disruption of their work, but it's been great. Thanks for your time.
Well, we're safe. That's what's important. We didn't create any problems.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There is still more Geek Week geekery to come, but first, one more thing.